I'm Katie.
I'm Anna. She's a psychotherapist.
And she runs a photography empire.
Together we make music and we podcast
to encourage ourselves
and you
to do the things that scare us most.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very special episode of the Doing Scary Things podcast. Thank you for being with us today, and I'm so excited to introduce you to a very special guest host today that is joining me. Her name is Meg Kissack. Hi, Meg.
Hello, it's lovely to be here.
We're so excited to have you. And Anna's here in spirit. She is in the mad scientist laboratory editing this and making sure it sounds great. So she's here with us in spirit. So Meg leads a group of creative women called the Rebel Rousers. And everybody needs to go right now to rebelrousers.com and check out what all she does, because it's so much and it would be really hard to list all the things right now, but we are so excited to have you with us today. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. It is so good to be back. Feels like home.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, and so one of the things you do, or two of the things you do, I should say, is you have two amazing podcasts of your own. One is a daily podcast, which everybody should check out, called The Daily Pep. I almost said The Daily Burn, which tells you where I'm at in my life, because that is a fitness app that I canceled my free subscription to yesterday. Yeah, sorry. So The Daily Pep, it's so fun. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you talk about on there?
Yeah, so it's a daily podcast Monday to Friday. And it's just basically a really short, sassy, snappy podcast just to get you a bit motivated. And it is definitely the podcast that I needed when I'm going through any kind of creative block, or if I feel stuck, or if I just don't want to do the thing. So it's all about helping creative and multi-passionate women get out of their own way and do the epic shit only they can do. It's less than 5 minutes per episode, and it's just short, snappy, but also very bullshit free. So that's a quick overview.
Yes. Oh, that was an amazing way to describe it. And I know that Anna and I are both avid listeners. It's funny because, like you said, they're short episodes, but I feel like every one of them is just packed with so much goodness. And Anna, I'm pretty sure, listens every single day. I build them up and I'll have like 5 or 6 in a row. And it's just such a good, it's just such a good pick me up. And it's like practical, and it just seems like it's always what I need to hear. So love it.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. And then your other podcast, which is why we're here today, is called Couragemakers. And can you kind of sum that one up for us?
Yes, I started Couragemakers in 2016 because I was really sick of hearing the same kind of Cinderella transformation stories of my life was really crap and now I'm in this place. And I felt at the time all we were hearing was people who had best-selling books or TED Talks. And I really wanted to really just create a platform to listen to everyday women who are doing amazing things, because we've all got so much wisdom to share. So that used to be, it's kind of transitioning at the moment, but it used to be kind of a weekly interview guest podcast. But since last year, it's kind of been on a bit of a hiatus. And we started doing a book club last year with fabulous Katie. And we did Playing Big, and it was just such a good time.
It was so fun. Yeah. So we wanted to, share with the Doing Scary Things community what we've been up to, because I realized I hadn't really announced anything on here, because Anna and I have been on a little bit of a hiatus as well. And so, we did that. How many episodes did it end up being? Maybe 15
I think so.
Or so?
We dove deep.
Yeah. So the book is Playing Big by Tara Moore. And this is a book that I literally recommend to every person I know. I feel like I have annoyed the heck out of everybody on my Instagram feed about it. But I'm like, this is just such a good book. Everybody needs to read it or listen to it, whatever, your preference is. But I loved doing that with you. And I felt like we learned so much. And I know we got great feedback that people enjoyed hearing us kind of dive into it as well.
Oh, it's just so good because I think that's one of the realizations we had during it is that like one book holds just so much in it and it was just so good to go chapter by chapter. And it very much felt like weekly therapy sessions. It was so good.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I really appreciated was, you kind of just opened it up and you went there. You were totally vulnerable and it created a space where I felt like I could do the same. And I know we kept saying to each other, it just feels like we're just talking about this for ourselves. It doesn't feel like anybody else is going to hear this. And I know, the doubt comes in, right? Mm-hmm. And so we were like, is anybody going to like this? Is what's going to happen? And the feedback we got told us that, it was helpful, that people really enjoyed hearing our take on it as well. And that, they really gained a lot of insight into the book as well.
It's that thing of vulnerability, isn't it? I think we really love reading other people's books when they're really vulnerable. When you're vulnerable yourself, it feels like oversharing. Like, who's going to care? And it was a good ripple effect. It was just, I loved every minute of it.
Yes, same. And even in the most chaotic year that I have had, for one, it was such a good constant for me, I think. I probably recorded those 15 episodes in about 13 different places. And it was just something I looked forward to every single time. So thank you for having me on your podcast to do that. And we loved it so much, we decided to do another book club.
Yay! And I couldn't ask for anybody I'd rather do it with. Just, I'm so excited to do this all again.
You're so kind. And yes, I totally agree. And so do you want to tell everybody what book we picked for this one?
It was a hard pick. I think we had like a short list of like 7 or 8 books, but we landed on Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yes. And I want to kind of get into, if you don't mind, I want to get into why it was a hard pick and kind of some of the conversation we had surrounding that. Do you mind to share that?
No, more than happy to. So I think with Playing Big, we kind of hit the jackpot in terms of it's such a structured book. It's so practical and we're pretty practical people. So we really love that aspect of it. And trying to pick a book to follow up that one, which we absolutely loved, it was really difficult. I think with Big Magic, there are massive elements of it we love. There's also elements of it we don't necessarily agree with or we've got a different take on. So I think one of the challenges was if we're going to do a book club on a public platform where we're really diving into the book, it's almost the vulnerability and the comfort level of disagreeing with something, which is such a huge movement in and of itself. And I think one of the reasons we chose it is because I think for both of us, creativity and fear are 2 of our favorite topics. And Katie, like you were saying, like it's the one book that when everybody thinks of like creativity or fear, that's kind of the one book everybody turns to. So that was kind of the main reason for picking it. What have I missed out?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And, I brought it to you in the beginning because I said, I feel like people look at this as like the creativity Bible. Yeah. Like you said, it's the one where if creativity is mentioned, this is the book. And I was thinking about this morning, and I really think part of that reasoning is because there just aren't a lot of books like it, right? Like there might be books that are talking about, how to get better at a creative task or like, how to blah, 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 the how-to kind of books. This is, that's a lot of theory. It's also talking a lot about, things that you and I both talk about on our podcast all the time, giving ourselves permission, trust, fear, like you said, courage. And so I, for one, am pretty excited to have the opportunity to just kind of dissect the book. And like you said, there are parts of it that I don't really understand. For instance, or not that I don't understand, sorry, that I don't agree with. For instance, there's a part, let's see, I'm flipping pages here. Before it even begins, before even the content page, it says, question, what is creativity? Answer, the relationship between a human being and the mysteries of inspiration. And
I'm laughing because I completely agree.
I don't agree with that, you know? And so there was a part of me after we'd had these conversations about doing this book, and I flipped to that and I'm like, oh man, maybe Meg was right. Like maybe this isn't for us, you know, because, and the listeners of this podcast know, like, I see creativity as a part of our brain. You know, we all have it because we all have a brain. Like, it is not something mysterious. And I think the danger in presenting it as something mysterious is that not everybody feels like they have access to it. And so that's what gets me fired up about this book, because like you said, there are massive chunks of it that are great. I mean, I underlined so much of this book. I feel like it's a very quotable book.
Yeah.
And there's going to be massive amounts of it that are, you know, are super helpful and super inspiring and encouraging. And then there's going to be some parts that we kind of pick apart a little bit. So I'm excited for that.
And I love what you mentioned about, like, there are so many books that talk about the practicalities of, like the name of this podcast, doing scary things, but there's so few about the theory behind it and just really diving into the vulnerability it takes, rather than just, these are 3 quick ways you can be more productive. And I think it is just going to be such a good exercise in dissecting it and really diving into what we mean when we think of creative living, how it appears to other people. And just, there's just so many sections of the book, like particularly the persistence, the trust, and the courage sections that I absolutely love. It's going to be interesting to dive into, like I think we both take issue with the whole kind of mysteriousness of creativity. It's just going to be so good to, I think as well, without this sounding too conceited, but offer a different perspective. Because I think that's a problem when you have a book which is kind of the Bible according to like one subject. I think it can be really easy to read it and go, oh, I don't really agree with that. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And I think it's just going to be really nice to offer different perspectives coming from maybe slightly more of a pragmatic approach, but I just can't wait to dive into it. That's my long rambling way of saying that.
Exactly. And I just appreciate you being willing to go there with me as well, because I felt like I pushed it a little bit with you, you know, because there is that, I don't want to call it a fear, but, you know, like Elizabeth Gilbert is obviously an expert, right? She's an amazing writer. And, you know, we're not necessarily pushing against her. It's just, you know, some of these ideas we might have a different perspective on. And I just think open, healthy conversation is always a good idea. And since we've kind of teased that we're going to dive into this book, I've heard from a lot of people who love this book, have read it multiple times. And that's great. And I want those people to join us again. You know what I mean? Like, we're not hating on this book in any form or fashion. Yeah. We love it as well and are so excited to dive in.
I'm really looking forward to what this book and doing it in this format has to teach us both about creativity, and also to have those wider and deeper conversations about the aspects that maybe don't kind of gel with us, because I think they can teach us so much about ourselves. And also, I think sometimes when you just have those really deep and meaningful conversations about those things, you unearth things that you never knew were there, which I kind of guess is her definition of big magic anyway, is kind of unearthing those hidden treasures inside us.
Exactly. And having the courage to bring them to life.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's talk really quick about what the format is going to look like. So this is going to be hosted on Meg's podcast, which is the Couragemakers Podcast. I will link to that in the show notes, so it should be very easy to find and hop over to. And we are going to have the intro episode on March 3rd, and then we will have an episode every other week on Wednesdays. Is that correct, Meg? Okay, perfect. And then we decided, we had so much fun with the first book club that we decided to take it to another level this time. Meg and I are both life coaches. We certainly probably have our different areas of focus, but we're excited to come together and offer a group coaching experience that's going to go along with the topics of the book club. And it's going to be a chance to talk about the theories in the book and then really apply them in your own life with things, you're trying to tackle or figure out for yourself. And so I'm going to link to that sign up sheet as well. It's going to be a very, very limited group because we've got to keep it intimate. It's going to be a great place to connect with other like-minded people. So I'm going to put the link below in the show notes. And Meg, what am I missing on that? What should we tell everyone about that group coming up?
I'm just really excited to dive into these things in a really kind of vulnerable, close-knit setting, because I think these are the topics that so many of us spend hours in our head talking about, but it's so hard to often bring those conversations to light with other people, especially when they're really vulnerable. So I'm really excited to really start looking at self-trust and looking at kind of permission from the perspective of, okay, what do you need to give yourself permission to do and how can you do that? And when it comes to the courage part of creativity, like what is holding you back? How can we move you forward? And how as a group can we really lean on each other, share our experiences, our wisdom, and me and Katie supporting you as coaches to really pursue the things that you really want and the things that maybe feel really scary to you and just finally go after them. And I'm really excited to do that with a group of 8 to 10 women who we're meeting with every month. And it's going to be a real kind of community feel. And it's just going to be a really nourishing space to explore so many of these things that all of us find scary and just make real progress on them and also change our mindsets a bit.
It's going to be so great because think about it. How many times have you read a book and it's speaking to you, but have you actually followed through and taken the next steps, to really transform yourself in those areas? And I think this is going to be an opportunity to do that. As far as time commitment, it's going to be a 2-hour call every month. And in between, again, we're building those relationships with each other. So you guys are going to have access to Meg and I, but also, be exchanging information with the others in the group so that you can keep up with how everybody's kind of feeling and experiencing the process as well. And we have literally made it as inexpensive as possible because it's just something we want people to have the opportunity to experience. And if you've never done coaching of any kind or group coaching, I think it's going to be a really great place to just dive in, get your feet wet, and really start taking steps towards the future version of yourself that you're trying to create.
Oh, I love that. And I tell you what I found really special about group coaching is when I've been involved in it in terms of as a participant, and I know this goes for what a lot of the women I coach in a group session also reflect back, is that you come in thinking like, I want to make sure I've got the one-to-one time, which we've built into this program. But also I think you don't come into this realizing just how much you get from hearing other people's stories and other people being coached. I think it is just a really special way of holding space for people. And I think you know so much about yourself. So I just can't wait. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's kind of the cherry on the cake of the book club.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. That's a good reminder. And I totally agree. It's going to be such a great experience. So if you can join us, please do. I'm going to put that sign up sheet in the show notes. And the last thing I want to mention today is that Meg and I are both giving away a copy of Big Magic so that 2 people don't even have to go out and buy the book and can just have it delivered to their home and be ready to follow along with us on the book club. So mine is going to be going out to someone in the U.S. Meg's, you may have noticed, Meg doesn't live here in the U.S. with us, so she's going to give away a copy to someone in the U.K. And that's just so you can get the book quickly and get started with us. So in order to participate in that little giveaway, hop on to Instagram if you're on there. share a story, tag us, let us know why you're excited about the book club. So my Instagram is the Katie Snyder. Megs, what is yours? Meg Kissack?
Yeah. Kissack is Kissack.
I will put those in the show notes as well. Lots of info in there today. If you're not on Instagram for some reason and you still want to enter the giveaway, just shoot me an email telling me you're excited for the book club. My email is katie@katiesnyder.com. And with your permission, I will also share that on Instagram. Just to let people know that we're excited. We're going to go through this book together and learn a lot about creativity, which you guys know makes me excited.
I am so excited. And I don't think it would be a giveaway if we didn't include a handwritten note from either of us. I don't think either of us could send a book, just put it in the mail. I think neither of us would be capable of doing that.
Yes, I know. I love snail mail.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I will definitely be creating something to go in that packaging. And, that just reminds me, it probably sounds cheesy. Maybe it's not the way most people do this, but I love hearing from people that are listening to the podcast. I love knowing that it is, resonating in some way with you. And so I know a lot of your listeners, Meg, reached out when we did the last book club and just let me know how helpful it was. And I just love that. So please keep in touch. This isn't something where you just listen and you hear our voices, but you never interact with us. Like we're both here wanting to talk about these ideas with you. So reach out anytime. Tell us what you're liking, what you're not liking. You guys can disagree with us. It's all fair game.
Yes. Yeah, come and disagree with us. It all just makes the conversation even richer and but you'll probably end up changing our minds as well.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, we'll hop off here. We just wanted to do a quick little segment to let you know where we're hanging out these days. So hop over to the Couragemakers Podcast, get involved with this book club, and we will see you soon.
Looking forward to it. And big love to you and Anna. You are the best.
Thanks again for joining us, Meg. And to our listeners, see you soon.
Thanks for joining us today on the Doing Scary Things podcast. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss one, leave a review, and share it with a friend.
Anna, could you cut this bit out, please? Thank you.